hope I don't speak too quickly because I think there's translation. And before I start, I would like to know, could maybe everybody raise their hands who is an artist in here? We're going to be artists. Okay, and scientists? Okay. Okay. Good. Because usually in these kind of presentations you find a lot of artists, but you hardly find any scientists. I just wanted to see. Okay, my name, as you heard, is Irène Hediger. I'm here from Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm running this program which has been running now for like 12 years. Nearly, and it was actually in 2003 when Jill Scott, she was the founder of this Artists and Labs program. She is an artist herself from Australia, came to Switzerland, and she realized how many science labs there are in Switzerland. There's a really big density of science labs, and at the time there was actually nothing really established kind of cross this bridge or make a bridge between artists and scientists, and to give the opportunity to artists to go into science labs and to have this kind of dialogue and exchange going on. So she was the founder of a pilot project. Okay. And here, just to give you a slight impression of Zurich, we have a small lake and mountains that seem very near, but they're quite far away. And this program is actually situated at the Zurich University of the Arts. And the Zurich University of the Arts has, like, since a few years, all the arts under one roof, let's say. We just moved into a big campus. And we do have all the arts, like from dancing to visual arts, music, just anything. And also what's very important at the school is like the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary discourses. Okay, I think as you know yourself, once you go away from your primary or secondary school, like your ways just part and you probably never meet. And this is where actually we start. It is that we are trying to kind of get people in contact that would usually not really get in contact unless you have a very broad friends from different areas. And so the aim of our program is really to get the dialogue going. It is very much on process. It is less on like an impetus to kind of find, have innovation. It isn't really goal-driven. It's really about the space, to create a space where artists can develop their projects and also scientists can kind of find the time to engage with the arts. Just a little history. As I was saying, we started in 2003, and this was a pilot project with 12 international artists and 9 science labs. And then it got to go like a proper project in 2006. This is when I joined the program. And what's really special about this is that we can offer like very long-term residencies in science lab, which means it's 9 months, which is a long time. And the artists tell us all the time it's kind of long, but it's kind of short as well, because it takes quite some time that you get familiar with the kind of vocabulary, you get familiar with the environment and so on. And then you kind of, after about 3 months, you start to really be able to develop your project. In 2009, for the first time, we implemented like an international exchange between China and Switzerland. It was the first exchange, which means that two artists from China came to Switzerland to work with environmental scientists, and two artists from, did I say now China? And two Swiss artists went to Chengdu, which is in the southwest of China, also to environmental science labs, which was really interesting because it was kind of crossing the borders of two cultures. Not only you cross the border of a different country, of a different environment, but you also cross the border, of course, of art and science. Well, then followed, of course, like more international exchanges. And what is also important in our project is we are trying to work with the artists and scientists, not only until the residencies are finished, but we continue working together. Not with all of them, of course, because we just wouldn't be able to cope with it, but we are trying to engage also in different projects, like we're trying to get the results and the processes also into the school that our students can also engage with this transdisciplinary dialogue. So we had, in 2013, we had the first trial of a bachelor pilot project between environmental scientists, bachelor students, and students from our design department. And as you can imagine, it wasn't an easy task because we are a big institution, and ETH, that's the like MIT in Switzerland basically, has a very open system. So it was very difficult to get on an institutional level all these settings together that we could actually do a pilot. And it takes, again, like in all these corporations, it takes people that are open and willing to engage and to open their horizon to more than what they're just doing in their science or also in the arts. Then we also started a research project where we were working, or are still working, with the artists and scientists that have been developing their projects together. And this was like to kind of take these processes and the dialogue out of the laboratory and into the public realm, which means that the collaboration partners, like let's say we have an environmental scientist and an artist working with the same thematic, they were actually defining their public. So we just like 2 weeks ago had a whole week with scientists, artists, musicians in a project in the 4th grade of the school. And it was amazing how children that usually, it's really difficult to get the knowledge across, and it's not boring, I guess. And all of a sudden had this engagement and this curiosity for like the trees in their environment. And at the end of this project week, one of the boys said, well, trees aren't so boring. But they look boring, but they are not so boring. And we had a concert in the end. And I'm telling too much about this because it's really difficult if you have been there, and of course don't see any images yet. Now, this year we are doing a residency, a national residency with an artist in the neuroscience lab, and something really important. And this year, for the first time, we can do a residency between Russia and Switzerland, which means one Russian artist can come to Switzerland and work with scientists in environmental science. It's one of our really top science labs in Zurich, and it's a 3-month residency starting in September, and the deadline is soon, but it's at the end of May. But if any artists are here and interested to come to Zurich and work with environmental scientists, you are very welcome to apply. And at the same time, there will be also an artist from Switzerland coming to Russia, but to Ekaterinburg, also working with environmental scientists in dendrochronology. Okay. Of course, what we are also trying to do is we are working like a network, like allowing to have art science residencies. We also do exhibitions, which means again bringing these art science collaborations and processes into the public realm. And we are working internationally with museums, and just now finishing was an exhibition called Quantum of Disorder, where we were working with artists from the Artists and Labs program, but also with international artists that are in some way engaging with science and with this kind of disorder, whatever disorder they were choosing. Okay. Besides that, we also try to do research about what you were saying before, Dimitri, about we know pretty well what it brings to artists to be engaged in an environment of science. There is, of course, a lot of attraction for the technology, but also for the discourses. But like after these many years of experience with science, and I think we cannot really use the term science as a singular for a plural, because the scientists are so different. If you're in an environmental science labs, it's so different as if you're working, let's say, in a technology-driven science lab. So it's really about it's really about the research of what does it bring to science, and what we can tell so far is it's on many levels, and it's not always immediate, the influence that these collaborations have in science. We've had results of like innovation, where there's cooperation with the artists. Actually, they came up with an idea, with a new idea, and then even went on with a science, with research projects together. We've had results like that, but we also had results of scientists that changed their experiments after they had been working with the artists. Because, of course, when somebody comes in and questions or uses your experiments, it can really change things. Also, we've had feedback from scientists that they changed their way of teaching. They changed how they are using images. And also, in one of the cases that was in a lab where it was about microtechnology. And microtechnology, of course, you never see the devices, so you kind of never think about your product or whatever in an aesthetic way. And after the residency of the artist, they kind of changed how they thought about their product, and with much success when they went to present their works. So this is just a few of many impacts I think they have. And also, not to forget, you get also a public, because many scientists have not been in touch with art before, have not been to exhibitions or dance performances before, and we could also see that all of a sudden you have a public for each other, kind of start to have different publics. What we can also say, it's highly individual, the residencies. It depends really on the questions the artist has. I mean, basically the questions of the scientists are there because they are visitors in the labs, but it's really a learning process. It's a learning process for both. We also are artists to present their work, to present how they see themselves in contemporary art, that they present their processes and also their results. We, of course, see the artist as a researcher. This is something that is as well at our university, and in theory anyway, something that is very diversely discussed, let's say. And as I was saying, it's basically the collaborations go on. I think there are not many artists that have been through the program that are not in some way or another still working with the scientists, or are at least really in contact all the time, not all the time, but they visit each other for events, they go to exhibitions, the scientists. So it's also kind of really making friends, not only, so it has different levels. There is one project I just wanted to show you, and this is Nicole Hediger, an artist. She was actually handing in a project idea about the self-portrait in art, and she was applying for the cognitive neuroscience labs because they are researching on the out-of-body experience. So if you, for example, have a stroke, you might have this. You might have this experience that you see yourself from above. So that was really a very interesting match. Nicole also, besides being an artist, she's also an art therapist. She's working with depressive and borderline patients in a hospital. And so she was using a setting of the scientist that you see above there. It's it's video ergosom. And this was developed by the scientists, where you kind of have a mounted display and they touch you from the back, so you have this sensation of like seeing yourself doing something from the back. You kind of have this out-of-body experience kind of thing. And she was drawing, and the scientists, they of course are working with patients, usually lying down, and have not had the experience of working with an artist. And when they saw this, they thought, why did we not think about, like doing our experiments like in the space as well, how the perception of space is, also when you are moving and walking. And Nicole, she was Artist in Lab in 2010. She's still doing she started a PhD after her residency, and she is also in this research project about communication, sharing her findings with the public. And this is the bachelor project I was talking to you about climate change, because of course climate change is a big issue, and the new generation should probably do something better than we've been doing so far. But it's really difficult to kind of have a way of addressing this kind of topic. And here just some impressions of the exhibitions that we're doing all over the world, where we're showing our projects and of course like talks and everything to share with the public. And this is an example, P. Lang's work, which is, of course, you can see it was mostly kinetic works, and we had a collaboration there with scientists from technology and physics. I don't know if anybody knows Attila Czerny. He is an artist from Hungary, but he lives in Poland, and he's an amazing artist that is working a lot on scientific topics in a very experimental way. That's it, just some impressions. And just to make the relations to this work over here, we had Kodak, and a performance by Kodak. They are working themselves themselves, they're brothers, and they work, one of them is a musician and the other one is an architect. And they work a lot with scientists as well, and this is one of their latest projects. Nylon, it's called. We actually wanted this one as well, but unfortunately it was too expensive. One other presentation by scientists that are working with robotics at the ETH as well. Okay, so if you want to know more, that was just like a very dense wrap-up of